All right, chat. So, welcome to a new week of trading to unemployment. It is now Monday nighttime, as you can see right over here. It is 10 o'clock on Monday. I'm recording this later because I honestly didn't even bother trading today. Let me show you guys. I'll show you guys just a quick reasoning, and I hope you guys can understand why I didn't even bother trading. So, I woke up to this right over here. This is what the charts looked like right as I woke up at around 9 a.m. Now, if you guys couldn't tell if that was a reason to not trade, maybe I can pull this up for you guys, and maybe this would be a reason for you to see a no trade day. We ended up pumping about, if I can get this to focus, we pumped almost 1,000 points in the span of 2 minutes, all because we got some war news with Trump tweeting that he was trying to start a ceasefire. So when I saw that we pumped 1,000 points, we took out every single target higher. We tapped into a massive 4-hour bearish gap and we held it. I was like, okay, there's not even a reason to try and get a winning day or even trade today. Every single target's taken. And if I was to play out the next few candles, you can see price pretty much does nothing. We got stuck. Okay, I don't know what that was, but that was some replay shit. Oh, it's because it's live now. So we did absolutely nothing the whole day. So it was the right move to not trade. What else can I say? I hope price does clear up for tomorrow, Tuesday, but if it doesn't, it will be a really simple week of no trades because that was honestly fucking crazy. That we got a whole 1,000 point pump in about 2 minutes. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow and I'll give you guys some updates if I do decide to take a trade tomorrow. All right, guys, it is Tuesday night. Tuesday night, part 2. Here we go. We ended up taking no trades today again. It was literally the exact same day as Monday where no good targets. We obviously had that massive move, the 1,000 point, which was the whole move I think we're going to have for the whole week. So there were no targets going in today. There was no volume. There wasn't anything. So I literally called it almost 10 minutes into market open. Give you guys a little outlook. This is what the charts looked like pretty much at market open. We trended lower all throughout London Asia session. We swept major lows. Obviously you have this hourly, whatever you want to call this thing over here, this 1,000 point move, you want to call that a gap or whatever. We are obviously holding that. We're wedged in between this 4-hour higher. So we're wedged in between this gap up here. So this gap up here is wedging us, this gap up here is wedging us, and we're also holding everything over here. So going into the day, there's obviously not good targets. There's no good targets. The only thing I want to see was higher price. But again, for us to make another move, another 200 point move after we had that 1,000 point, whatever you want to call this, really unlikely. And you can see pretty much right through the market, we did absolutely nothing. We're delivering lower, start chopping. And I decided to get off almost around 9:40. So 9:50 around there. After I saw the 9:45 news didn't deliver. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to, try and trade this. And I did the right move because we did absolutely nothing the whole session up until the last about 10 minutes of market. So yeah, literally the last like fucking 5 minutes of market open, we decided to pump up 300 points. So looks like this is a typical trading session now where we do nothing all of AM and we'll just do some bullshit news move random times throughout the day. So yeah, we'll see how Wednesday goes, but all right, what is good, guys? It is Wednesday night. It is really late, honestly. It is 11 p.m. If you can see, it's 11 p.m. We ended up taking no trades again today. I'll get into the big reasoning of why I took no trades. It was honestly just down to the fact that I was extremely zoned out. Oh, so I wasn't like thinking that we were going to have any decent price action because the past 2 days we've had atrocious price action. And you can see up until today, even today, I don't know why I'm hiding it. Like, this is what price has been looking like. Like, bro, hold on, let me just wipe this for you guys. But this is what price has been looking like since we got that massive pump up. This was literally a whole move. Ever since then, we have had some atrocious price action. I haven't even looked at oh my God, like the 4-hour looks terrible. So pretty much going into today, this is what pre-market looked like at 9:30. What I saw obviously was that we did sweep out London highs pre-market at around 8 a.m. and we were starting to move lower. Now what I also saw was we were rejecting, but honestly the only other move that did make sense in this disgusting range was a move to Asia and London lows. You can see they're pretty much stacked up. They were literally like a point away from each other. Okay, so like there were 4 points from each other. So the only thing that did make sense was we had the sweep of the London highs and we were obviously reacting lower. So that's what my idea was. I told myself, I knew this idea going to market open. I even texted one of my boys. I'm like, oh, I really like a move lower due to all those reasons. And you can see that into market open, what ends up happening is we end up having a manipulation higher and a move lower. Now, this is really nice. Oh my God, sorry guys. So this is pretty much market open. What do you see at market open? We manipulate higher, hold this 5-minute gap, which I honestly wasn't even looking at. I remember around this time I was literally zoned out, just like blankly staring at the charts, staring at them for no reason. But this would have been the entry most likely. I think it was a 15. The 15-minute doesn't look the greatest. The 5-minute is really nice though. Tap into the 5-minute gap, manipulate into it, displace out. This should have been the ideal entry, something like this. Let me just mark it out properly. Damn, you have a fat ass stop too. So a trade like this would have made sense, even a tighter stop, because we realistically shouldn't trade back into the gap if we are displacing out. So this would have been the trade, most likely going break even at this low here. And you see the trade would end up, well, you would have got edged. I mean, I trail my positions aggressively, so I would have probably closed somewhere around over here. That was the clear trade of the day. But what I obviously did was I wasn't really paying attention to this move over here. So I was starting to look on the 1 minute. I decided to scale a little bit lower. Dude, I'm getting these replays right on down. This is where I was looking to take another entry. It was on this 1 minute continuation lower. It would have been an idea something like this right over here, targeting this. So it would have been a bigger R play, which has been really nice. But I'll explain the 2 reasons why I didn't take this trade. So number one, you're really realistically chasing price so hard. You can see the 5-minute has displaced extremely aggressively already. We had 1, 2, 3. So we had 20 minutes of price displacing hard. And you are now trying to enter on the lowest point on a little shallow 1 minute retrace. Even though this is really clean, we had pretty much this candle invalidate this entire move higher. The other issue was that we did also open up a fresh 5-minute gap above right over here. So I was worried that we might trade into this 5-minute gap and then start displacing, but that did not end up happening. But either way, I was obviously staying out of this trade. Oh, also another reason was your break-even point is extremely tight. You know, I've mentioned before, when I play such a tight break-even, most times you will either get break-even, or if you don't react quick enough to that break-even, then most likely it's going to run to your stop and just stop you out. But yeah, this trade would have, same idea, almost no drawdown. It would have edged you. So again, if I was to take this trade, but I wouldn't have, probably would have closed at around 1.7 R. But yeah, no trades really taken today, and mainly due to the fact that price is really disgusting. And one of my key factors towards the way I trade is I really want to see how the higher time frame is trending. Everything for me is based on drawn liquidity. So targets on the higher time frames, on the 1 hour, 4 hour, the daily. I want to see price take out higher time frame drawn liquidities, and I always like to see the higher time frame be super clean. You can always see my best trades are taken when the higher time frame is so obvious. For example, we tap into a massive 1 hour gap, we're displacing out. I'm like, okay, literally any trade makes sense at that point. That's why I like to trade. I like to take trades that do make sense. And for me, ranges don't really make sense how to trade. But to that point is I've had a really good March trading month, even though the price has been so bad, and still find good trades. And for me, it's just waiting for an idea that really makes sense. So yeah, could have probably found a trade today, but I'm honestly glad I didn't, because I saw a lot of people did end up losing on this price action, and I would have probably ran into the risk of taking either a shitty trade or taking a loss. So yeah, I didn't end up trading, but it is what it is. We have 2 more days of the week left. We'll see how it goes. Forgot to mention, I've decided I'm probably going to try and build a balance on my last 50K that I did not end up getting blown, because we're sitting at, right now we have let's see, we're sitting at around 1.6K on our funded. So I'm going to try and see if I can build a big balance. I have 1 winning day. We did end up sizing for that, just trailing to a winning day last week. It was on Thursday. But I'm going to stop going for winning days on the account. I'm going to try and build a balance, a pretty big balance, so I can withdraw a fatter payout because it is, again, one account. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. We'll keep you guys updated, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, chat. Happy Thursday. This is like the first time I'm picking up the camera during the day in quite a while, but so you can see it is Thursday, pretty much after the trading day is over. Whoop, I hope you guys didn't see that, but we pretty much ended the day break even. I'll call it break even because as you can see, can I flip the camera right over here? Across 5 accounts, we ended up almost break even on all of them. So I ended up taking about a $70 loss on my main funded account and then a $200 loss across my evals, all because of just, slippage. So evals are pretty much sitting at exactly break even, 37 in profit, and that's just from my winning day last Thursday, which I took for the winning on my funded account. But anyways, this is really just a break even day for me, and I'll go over the trade that I took. Let me just pull this up right over here. So this was the trade that I ended up taking. It was just a 1 minute continuation higher, and I'll explain why you ended up getting break even on this trade ID over here. But pretty much going into the day, you can see that price was extremely bearish, but there were no targets lower. The only next target was like 270 points away. So yeah, so about 270 points away was our main target. So it does not make sense for price to go any lower, especially when we're this far from a draw, unless we continually started ripping lower right off market open. That did not have been happening. So the only thing I saw was maybe targets higher to Asia highs, London highs, and a bunch of hourlies you could have marked right over here. So it was pretty much the same thing, an untapped gap. Now, off market open, what I saw was we ended up delivering lower, and then we swept out this low another time. So first of all, we swept this low here, reacted higher. We could have pushed higher, but I guess we did not. We decided to resweep the low, had a nice V-shaped flip, and I started targeting London highs. So first of all, to begin with, the ideal entry would have been ideally this 5 minute flip right over here because you could have had a pretty big break-even point. Or ideally, what I wanted, I journaled down for myself, was a really good trade idea would have been that if you had conviction in a move higher, which I obviously did higher, I did have a conviction in a move higher pre-market. I was telling myself and my other friend that exact same reason I don't see shorts playing out. I can only see higher price. And my conditions were met that we got some sort of sweep. We tapped into some sort of gap, reacted higher. This would have been the entry break even over here, and I would have probably trailed my entry to about a 2R trade. But I was honestly a little scared of taking that flip because I still wasn't too sure that we might either, tap back into some sort of gap, create a gap, and then get an entry. But anyways, my next entry was just waiting for a really nice retrace with a good displacing candle out. And that's where you got this entry right over here. So this trade was super simple based off the 5 minute. You see price displaces, we create a 5 minute gap. We tap into it and instantly wick out. We have a massive 50 something point candle. I think so a 58 point candle that we instantly, so we tap into the 5 minute gap, instant displacement out. This is a super aggressive trade. I went break even at these internal highs. Now the reason this trade break evens, there's a bunch of reasons behind it. So first of all, ES was the leading pair. You can see ES was way closer to London highs. This is London highs is this target up here on NQ. On ES, London highs is right over here. So ES was the more leading pair. What I like to do is I'll trade the leading pair, which aligns better with my bias. So since I wanted long stay, I should have been looking at ES, but I did not honestly even check ES at all. So that was completely on my fault. Second of all, ES was obviously edging London highs all throughout. We edged right over here, edge. So 3 or 4 times we edged it. So knowing that ES, if I knew that ES was edging the target, most likely wouldn't have taken the trade and would have avoided it. All because that is telling me that this is a low quality target. So there you go. It's a pretty simple trade to take. I really did like this idea, and I was heavy. I was risking heavy on this shit. I was 3 minis with a 58 point stop. That means I was risking 3.5K on the trade. So, man, I can tell you guys, I was a little stressed out when I saw this trade start trailing down to around 1K. I was fucking stressed out. So I was honestly really happy that I did get break even on the trade, because if this lost, man, I don't know what I could say. I would have been a little frustrated, but yeah, I'm really trying to build a big buffer on these accounts. I already took a payout out, so I'm risk-free on this account. I'm just going to be risking heavy on these trades. So yeah, pretty simple day. We'll see how tomorrow goes. But with how price has been moving, it's either you catch that first entry or you pretty much just miss out on the whole move. So we'll see how it goes, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. All right, so it is now Friday, if you guys can see this. Okay, whatever. It is Friday now at 5 p.m. Trading is over for the day. This is how we ended the day. Pretty much just break even. You can see $70 on the main funded and about $18 across my eval. So it really was a flat day for me. I'll go into exactly why that was the reasoning, but today was honestly super clean. We're finally breaking out of our devious range we've been stuck in for almost months. So we have finally broken out of this. This is the weekly. You can see there's literally what is this? So we have finally broken out. Going to the day, obviously all I saw was lower price because we were delivering lower. So my main draws for the day were all these weekly lows stacked right over here. So this low here, these were also 4-hour lows, so it was both paired out. And we also had an unfilled weekly gap going to the day. So those were the main targets. Now, I will also explain why. Oh my, where am I? Okay, so yeah, I'll explain why I didn't take any trades today. And it was mainly just due to the reason that I was a little sketched out with how price ended up delivering. So into market open, I won't go over market open. I'll just explain why I didn't like any reason to trade today. So market open candle was somewhere around this area. We ended up manipulating higher and then we started dumping lower. Now, as you see, okay, so market open was this massive 5-minute dump. We ended up dumping and we edged the first target I had marked out by 3.5 points almost. So when I saw us edge this target right over here, it really sketched me out to try and trade because I've been burnt before trying to trade to targets when we have edged them before. I think I even mentioned before. Yeah, so my trade, it was the one before this where we edged London highs. I remember that. That was the reason I didn't take that. The reason that I went break even so early was because ES was edging London highs. That was it. That was the trade I had marked out. I completely forgot, but I took a trade a few days ago. Same reason, I closed early because we edged. So that was my reasoning for being too hesitant on shorting, was the fact that we edged this. Now, it does end up playing out, and there was almost an A plus entry towards it. So you can see on the 1 minute time frame, there was this trade to take over here and ride it to the lower target. Something like this would have been a beautiful trade, but I was honestly so hesitant because we had this right here. But honestly, even looking at that, so what I told myself was, I'm like, okay, this is most likely a low quality target because we edged it, but this target maybe won't be the greatest, but this target lower still makes sense. So if I just took that into consideration, that okay, I can probably just go break even at the edge or that first target and maybe trade towards this, that would have made the trade play out. And I honestly was about to take the trade, but then last second I remembered, I told myself all the losses I've taken trying to take trades when we were edging price. So it is whatever. I ended up staying out of that trade, and I'll show you what I did end up taking. Okay. It might be easier if I just show you guys the picture of the trade. Okay. So this was the trade I ended up taking. It has execution arrows. So you can see the main move ended up happening. We dumped. After we got this dump, I was like, okay, yeah, we're most likely not going to get any more trades today. And I was okay with that. So my whole goal was to just try and catch a winning day. So open up a 5-minute gap. Obviously, we're delivering terribly out of it. So I was waiting for some clear continuation lower, some clear displacement out. That's when we got this strong displacement out, little retrace in this 1-minute gap. And that's where we got the strong 1-minute entry. Took it right over here. And with my winning days, I like to just go break even as quick as possible, try and size off as much risk as I can as quick as possible. So I went break even. And I got tag break even. So the trade would have played out, but it would have edged my stop right over here and then dump. So honestly, for a winning day, I'm not trying to sit in a fucking chop. I'm not trying to get edged by my stop for a winning day. Not that big of a deal for me because I can always just get another winning day sooner on. So simply closed for around $70 on the funded account.
not much else to say to that other than may have been a good trade to take, but I honestly just wasn't confident in price edging that target, so I stayed out. But looking back, as I said, it was a good trade to take, and obviously I did journal down, so I have my journal right over here. I did a huge journaling about that trade. I said once I missed a move, it was obvious price slow down, obviously Lesson learned, just because price edge a target does not mean the DOL is invalidated. I explained that, so the lower target still made sense. And especially when we're moving to a target with 50.1 minute candles, the draw is still obviously valid. So obviously that trade right over here, you can see these candles here, especially this candle. So we opened lower. This was a 54.1 minute candle. I should have taken into consideration the candle was so big. If we have such big candles, volume is obviously moving lower, so would have been a good trade to take, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. We're ending the week pretty much flat, I think, because I lost 60 yesterday on the break even, made 60 today, whatever. So we're pretty much ending the week flat. I didn't even take any trades on my evals, like really. I took one trade and went break even, but we still haven't taken any real trades on my evals. I'm trying to be really conservative with them this time around because I have been blowing through a lot of evals trying to get max allocation, max allo. That's all I cared about. But I've been blowing through a lot of accounts, so I'm trying to really take a step back this time around. We'll try and see how next week goes because we did finally break out. Oh, and what I wanted to show you guys was if we leave the replay, we did end up we did end up sweeping out the weekly gap. We tapped into the weekly gap I had marked out. So you see this massive weekly gap right over here is marked out. So going into next week, I'm looking for us to either rip through this gap for lower price, or we might hold this gap and it'll be a really good buying opportunity for long term, and especially for longs too. If we were reacting off a weekly gap higher, that would be great. I will love that. That would be some great news. So going to next week, I am going to try and pass these evals because I've been sitting on these for almost it's exactly a week now. I've been sitting on these evals for a week. So I will let you guys know what the next plan, what the next thing I'm going to be doing going forward is. If you guys did like this video, my social medias are in my bio. Discord's in my bio if you have any questions. I'm always answering my DMs, helping people out. So like, follow, subscribe. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.